Now we get the actual credits.
But Renfield said not everything had been resolved though, right?
Yeah, and then they listed like a few things that haven't been, from what I understood at least. They talked about, I guess, how people who were in the dome for 30 years, they came back, and they probably feel like they came back 30 years into the past because they had 30 years of technology in front of them, and they look like they're very advanced. So they came back to what was essentially a village. So they were like, what is going on here, you know? Because they...
So... No, it's okay. I didn't know you. I thought you... Because you paused, I thought you'd done talking.
No, it was...
Go ahead if you were saying something.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I was just going to ask, so you said you had a few things to say. Did you want to say them now, or...?
Yeah, regardless of, what the last few cutscenes are, I don't feel like... I feel like it's a sin to interrupt the credits, so I did want to just comment briefly somewhat on some of the, I guess, thoughts that I had. I'm not saying that I'm disappointed. I will be completely honest. I don't think that the ending itself of this expansion comes anywhere close to any of the other expansions, and that includes the expansions that are not Endwalker, which is considered the ultimate ending. So not close even to Stormblood, not close to Heaven's Ward, in my opinion. Not close to, Endwalker, Shadowbringers, whatever. I don't think that... I think that they could have done something to make it feel like a little bit of an ending. But I do hope that they don't use, the negative, I guess, I'm going to call it the negative feedback that they got from social media and whatnot to basically abandon ship. Because if they invested so much time into it, I think they owe it to the story to explain to us, why this was so important. And even if it feels a little bit bland right now, I think that they owe it to us to explain to us why they did what they did, why this was important, why these interdimensional fusions were so impactful. And I am gonna be honest, I feel really betrayed that they took the city away from us, because that was, for a brief time, that was one of my favorite zones when it comes to design. Like, I just thought it was beautiful, like these 4 zones and whatnot. Like, nobody wants to go around exploring and doing side quests when they're on the main quest. And when they say, oh, you won't be able to come back anymore, you want to continue the story, but you're torn between doing that and basically going around doing side quests, screenshotting, sightseeing, and whatnot. Why would developers spend so much time on something that will only be visible for a couple of hours in-game? I really want the zone back. I want to be able to visit the previous version of the zone, and not just through New Game Plus or whatever. I want to be able to go back and see it, because I just like spending time there, and I think that's fair. There were some really emotional moments in the expansion, but overall, when it comes to the ending, I don't know. It was a bit unexpected. Like, oh, credits, okay, so it's the end. I don't like feeling that way about FF14, and I don't expect, to tear up at, every single ending, but it is the ending. I don't expect to not feel like the expansion has ended, I feel like the story has just started, and even though the story with this fiend was good and it was over, it still kind of feels like, oh, happily ever after, and we've only just started a new journey. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think in terms of storytelling, they took a very different approach with the story. Like, if I was to give my overall rating of this expansion, I'd say 7.5. I think it's okay. It's all right. I wouldn't say it's phenomenal. I wouldn't say it's absolutely garbage either. I think it's got some good still some good story moments. I think my favorite cutscene in the entire of this expansion was the cutscene with the train. Like, this train cutscene, the cinematography in this has been really, really good. Like, from a game development standpoint, I've seen camera angles that they wouldn't normally use, which I think that I can see they've really ramped up in that regard. I think there wasn't many duties, which maybe is disappointing for some, maybe sometimes for some people a relief. I quite like the duties, to be honest, but there wasn't that many. I think in terms of the ending, I think it just came on suddenly, and I mentioned this earlier, and I'm still kind of going back and forth with if I liked it, but we had this like escalation for the Eorzea fight, and then this real dip and slow moment with this goodbye of 4 sections into dungeon, trial, end, done.
Yeah.
And it just feels like that last zone, it wasn't shoehorned in, but it feels like it was just rushed. It just felt shoehorned in, and they gave me like a few hours in this zone, but I didn't feel overly connected with it. And kind of like you, I'm not that gutted that I turned off this zone or whatever. If in the patches, maybe some of it is our mission to turn it back on slowly or something, then we can get this quote-unquote colour and this life back to this zone. But I don't know what that's going to be like now. But if they have just given us this beautiful zone and we've turned it off and we've just now have this like dead zone, it's essentially the next Azisla. Because Azisla, other than a little bit of story in there, you never really kind of go back and have these like cool moments in there. So it's kind of like a dead zone or wasted zone.
If I can say something, they've explored in just as a comment on what you said when it comes to this, the story and everything. I just wanted to add that they had an incredible opportunity to make it really impactful, not necessarily to hurt or traumatize people, but they explored something unexpectedly dark in Dawntrail, which I didn't expect them to do. Which is the passing and grief and moving on from your life to basically the lack of immortal life, if that's something that you believe in or whatever. I think that they had an incredible opportunity to tap into that and to make it more relatable for so many people, and I feel like that was just I don't know, somehow overshadowed. And I never thought I would say this for Final Fantasy XIV, but not written that well.
I think this game explored something in a way that they've never done before, which has heavy influence on FF9, which is souls and life and existence. And I think it was quite well written in that regard. I think there were some good characters. I haven't got a bad thing to really say about it. I just think the ending came across quite quickly and a bit abrupt.
Yeah.
My big complaint, if I have one, honestly, is there wasn't much room for, I don't know, how traditional sounds like Thancred wasn't really in it. Ishtola was a little bit in it. I don't remember a dialogue line from Thancred when we had it last, or Eorzea. Like, we had a little scene before we entered like the final zone. But our classic characters just didn't get much of a, I mean, it was nice to get. Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but Kryl got a lot of attention, which I'm kind of glad, because I think she deserved it. I think there were some really good zones, which because I played this game very sporadically, this expansion very, very sporadically. I can't remember some of the earlier zones and what it was like. I think what I thought was very, very, very odd was giving us a trial at 93. They're not giving us anything till 99, and it kind of mega threw me off, because you normally get a trial like a 94, 98 or 93 and 96, so they evenly spread out, but giving you one, then giving you nothing for ages, and then giving us level 99 quests that felt like they went on for, I don't want to say forever, but a massive chunk of 99 quests. It just felt really weird pacing in that regard. I think the pacing at 90 to 95 was slow, and that's why it goes down to a 7.5 for me, because I think it was like this game was telling two stories. It was telling Wooklamats at 90 to 95, and then it was telling Sphinx from essentially 95 to 99 to 100. And Erenville's pushed in there as well a little bit, and his relationship with his mother and things like that, and
all the cultures of like Tuliolal and the regions, and collecting the 7 pieces of whatever.
That was but that's 90 to 95. But yes, essentially that as well, and a bit of world building. And The way I'm seeing this, and I've been saying this since word go, is this game is very much like A Realm Reborn. A Realm Reborn storytelling was quite slow and quite weak in some areas. And I feel like because this is embarking on a new story, it's really, really hard to tell a story without the game feeling too slow, and also without giving us too much action, with it being at the base of a story when you've got the rest of the patches to go. So maybe the way that they told the story was the best they could do between 90 to 100, with equal pacing, where they were like, okay, well, between 90 and 95, we'll do this and this and this, set you off on this quest. Because I thought the entire story between 90 to 100 would be me collecting these 7 pieces and overcoming bosses together, just like a traditional Final Fantasy game. But it turned out not to be that, which I was pleasantly surprised with. I think the zones are really, really cool. I think they explored like a more neon neon fantasy zones, and I think this was a really cool thing to explore from them as well. Very, very interesting music as always. Soken killed it. And I think
you like the final song? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm very curious about your opinion about the song that we just heard when it started during the credits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the song was good. It was alright. I got nothing bad to say about it. It was nice. Very, very Lion King, and what was the song you called it? The
Circle of Life. Yeah.
Very Circle of Life. But I think it also fits the tone of the game. In this like new world or whatever. I think. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking I'm settled on the 7.5, maybe an 8 if I'm being a bit generous, but I don't think it was terrible at all. I think it does it. Honestly, I'll be honest and say, I think I need a replay of it now that I know a bit more, because I'm going to be completely honest, like, when it comes to, I know this isn't sci-fi, so bear with, when it comes to sci-fi movies and these, like, highly technological or Mediterranean or these unexplored names like this game, and these zone names, the teleport names, and even some of the enemies like Galul Jar Jar, Zarul Jag, and Zaral Jar or whatever, like all these kind of names, I from the beginning was getting a little bit like, okay, well, so which one's that one again? And I followed it for the most part. But because I played it sporadically, that's my own fault. So I'm going to take accountability there and say I think that me playing it sporadically has impacted me negatively there. And I think if I go back now, I'm going to be a bit more on it with understanding everything that goes on. I do think these stories definitely deserve a second playthrough. I think I completely agree with you in terms of all endings. This one does not top any of them, even close to it.
I'm gonna be honest here. I expected more of this development with Erenville, because they were building up this I guess this anxiety in me for so long about how he's going to react to shutting down these terminals, and I had a quiet little prediction that didn't turn out to be true. But if I wrote the game, and I never should write any games because nobody would play the stories that I write, but if that was me, and if we followed the story of Erenville being the way he is, I would have probably had him as one of the trials, because I would have had him snap and try to stop us from doing what we're doing, and then his whole understanding of the fact that we need to close these terminals or whatever, I would have Kahikua calm him down at the end of that trial, and him realizing, how cool would it be if we had Erenville, our friend, as a boss who's just like, no, we can't kill my family, we can't kill my mother, he goes crazy, like, I just felt this way. They just presented him as a brat who just doesn't understand why he has to shut down these terminals. And I understand that there was a little bit of grief in him, that he wanted to spend some time with his mother and whatnot. But I feel like if they went down that road, they should have gone all in. That's just my opinion. This way, it just ended with him being like, okay,
I think the storytelling from Dawntrail, I see it differently, where I think it's about loss, it's about souls, it's about life, and it's about a lot of things that are very, 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 very relatable to us, very existential topics. And I think that Erenville is also on his, like, not Kryl saying goodbye to her parents, but also Erenville saying goodbye to his mother. And we can see he was struggling with the fact that he had to say loss, not Gulul Jar finding out he's the son of Gulul Jar Jar, or, and then coming to terms with the fact that he's going to become now the king. Not Wuklamat losing her father. So it's very much about loss. So I see loss, the topic or the theme loss, a very powerful storytelling for a Final Fantasy game. FF7 uses it. FF14 are now using it. I mean, every Final Fantasy has a bit of loss in there, and I think that these kind of losses and these themes are the reasons why we connect ourselves to these Final Fantasy games. There's very little Final Fantasy XIV can do to turn me off this game now. Like, I'm all in on this game. I've had what, 6 or whatever it is expansions of this game, and every single one of them have delivered emotions that I didn't think were possible. Did I feel absolutely, distraught with this game when I was at the end of it? Not really. Was I hugely connected to it? No. But I still very much enjoyed the world, very much enjoyed the dungeons, very much enjoyed the trials, very much enjoyed the storytelling and the quirky dialogue and the silly little, the popcorn scene with Graha. Like, they had a little bit of emotion in there. They had a little bit of comedic value in there. They had the fun stuff going on where you're choosing a certain item in a quest and stuff like that, choosing a particular item. They tried new stuff, and I can see moving forward that this game continues to just keep having
I'm sorry, just a clarification. When you say game, I know this about you, but some people who are watching the video might not. When you say, did I feel overly connected with this game? Neo normally means expansions and sees expansions as separate games, so I don't think you were talking about Final Fantasy XIV as a whole. Yeah, okay.
No, I'm talking about just Dawntrail. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
FF14 is crazy. Like, I feel overly connected to this game and the world, heavily. So it's nothing to do with Shadowbringers and Endwalker. Like, no. Like, I'm all in. I've been all in since Realm Reborn, but Dawntrail just didn't hit me in the feels. Like, a lot of people love Erenville. I don't hate him. I just think he's okay. He's a decent character, and I grew to like him a little bit more during this, because a lot of people were like, "Oh, my boy Erenville" and stuff like this, and I was like, "Well, we only saw him a little bit towards the end of Endwalker, so I don't know how many people, and that's fine. People can love what they want, So." But for me, I was just like, okay, cool, Erenville. But I got to know him a little bit more during Dawntrail, and I like him a little bit more now. Interesting last boss. I think there'll be an interesting trial. I think that Steiner, aka what was his name now? Oh my god, what's his name? I'm gonna call him Steiner. Come on, you guys know.
Otis.
Otis, thank you. Ruining all the videos.
I can't hear him at all. I don't think.
Yeah, well, anyway. So I think Otis by far was one of my favorite characters in the entire expansion. I actually really liked Sphene. I know that you saw her maybe as another Meteon. I saw her a little bit differently. I think she was still a very interesting character to have in the story. I think it's a little weird that they held another female villain. Straight after expansion where they had a female villain, but then again in the other ones we did have for the longest time we had MX Selk, we had who else am I thinking of here, Xeno, and we had a lot of male villains, Laha Breya, so maybe it was time to just throw a few women in there as well, and maybe it just fit into the story well. I will say one thing I'm very, very happy with are the references to FF9. They went full ham, and I'm very, very glad about it. And if they so wanted to, they can absolutely explore that more in this expansion. In the next patch or something, they could give us another dungeon or something, which could be another reference to, or a lookalike of a zone from 9 or something if they wanted to. They can expand on that or not. I still think they had some really good scenes with Wuklama. I don't understand the absolute I don't want to say the absolute hate. There was a lot of, as we're recording this many months later, since the release, a lot of people have kind of commented a lot on Wukuma. I actually haven't minded her at all. I can see that she started off a bit naive and a bit unlikable for whatever reason. I've continued to like her more as the expansion's gone on, and towards the end there was pretty badass, and I've actually grown to enjoy her as a character. Again, not my favorite character, but a character I've grown to appreciate and like. Would I like her to be a new Scion moving forward? I don't think so. I think she's like my least character
anymore. Yeah, well, we don't have like Scions per se, but
we have Graha, we have Eorzea, we have
like in the name is what I meant.
know, but I'm talking about these characters like Graha, Thancred, Kryl, Ishtola. Like, these are characters that accompany us through all the expansions. Do I want her to move forward with us now? I don't think so.
Well, I think we didn't spend enough time together with them. They don't know her.
Oh, okay. But I don't want her to continue on with us. I want her to be like the least in Stormblood, where she was a companion for the story, and she stays.
She has duties. I think she has to stay there.
Yeah, and she's now the vow of, oh god, was it the resolve?
Yeah.
So, and she's gonna do that with Kwana. I'm really looking forward to finding out where the next story is going to take us from Dawntrail, because I know Erenville was listing these few things, but I do wonder what the patches will be like. For me, always in FF14, I'm very much always looking forward to the main story, and then the patches always kind of can feel a little bit meh. Endwalker got a lot of stick. Angor, would you be quiet for a minute? Jesus. Endwalker, a lot of people got questionable with the post game. I actually didn't mind post game. I actually really enjoyed post Endwalker in a lot of cases. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, have FF14 grown a little bit, have the company grown, has Yoshi and the writers and everything else have they grown, and are they going to add more? Are they going to try something new? I love seeing FF14. In all the years I've been playing for 10 or 11 years now. I love watching them explore new themes, new storytelling, new pacing. I think the pacing has been very questionable in this one, but I've still enjoyed the new approach they've taken. I just wish the final zone wasn't just this slow burner of 99, building up to a final dungeon to a trial, and then instant credits. Endwalker just felt way more impactful, and so did Shadowbringers and Stormblood even. Stormblood did feel a bit more impactful, with Shinryu and whatnot, and even Heaven's Ward, with the Knights of the Round and such.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of it's not a worry, but I can tell the difference between, for example, how Stormblood post patches, which by the way are one of my favorite post patches in the entire game, because we actually get to explore the backstories of the characters who we did get to meet. The Gozetsu and the others. I feel like they were. They continue to be a part of our journey, whereas, for example, in the Endwalker, I loved the post patches, mostly, well, not just mostly, but partially because Final Fantasy IV is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, and I'm so glad that I got to play it before Endwalker, because Endwalker post patches for me made sense. And even though I played 4 freshly before Endwalker post patches, they were so nostalgic to me, and it was so nice to relive Final Fantasy IV in that way, because I felt like Endwalker patches were a remaster of Final Fantasy IV in a way. This time around, I'm a little bit kept in the dark, like we all are, and I don't know if they're going to dive deep into this story or it's just going to be another new story. I personally, at the cost of at the cost of not getting something new and exciting and whatnot, I want them to build upon this world, and I really hope that they explain some of these things. For me, there are a lot of things that remained unanswered, and I think that that's why they brought up the ongoing issues, like the things that haven't been resolved, like the people in the dome who came out and felt unadapted. And also, I feel like there's a lot of questions with Galul Ja, like the baby, right? We don't know much about his heritage at all. We know that is the father. We still don't know who the mother is. I don't think that they would leave that gaping hole right there and never explain how he just happened, Chaos Roll just ended up having a child just like that, and who the mother was and what happened in those 30 years. Someone must know something. I wish we saw more of Otis, because Otis was just an incredible character overall, and I really wish we got to see a little bit more of him. I didn't want to see him die. That's the one death that I think was a little bit unnecessary. I think that he was just a fantastic character that lifted everyone's spirits, and I think that that's something that Dawntrail really needed. And I really do agree with you when you said that our friends were kind of in the background.
Absent.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't like... I stand by what I said at the... somewhere midway
beginning
through.
of the expansion somewhere. Yeah, I remember this.
When we were talking about like those cooking quests, I do think that they've cheapened some of our characters and they didn't give them the justice they deserve. Maybe Tirstola, who studied these interdimensional fusions, and she was like, okay, this is what's happening with these portals, this is how we're gonna do it. But I think without Kryle's technology that she had in her earring, obviously nothing would have happened. I just feel like they've cheapened them a little bit, and that we didn't get the taste of these past characters essentially, and what they represent to us. Not everyone praying for us there on that coast at the end of Endwalker, and having and us having the entire village full of friends, just hoping that we make it through, that we manage to essentially save the world. Now I as a character feel a little bit forgotten. I just have a few of these new friends, and even my old friends, they don't hang out with me as much anymore. So I do feel a little left out, I guess.
I think our trouble is, and the thing is, I'm very much a person who I never, as I'm talking about Dawntrail, will try and compare this to Dawntrail. Sorry, to Endwalker or Shadowbringers, because for me, Endwalker was peak. Shadowbringers came in second for me, because nothing beats seeing your character and game down and out, black screen. You think you got enraged and game over and you wiped. Not your friends that you've known since the beginning of the game saying light up the way, and then having your characters all praying and whatnot, and seeing your characters stand up and get up and never give up. And literally one of the dialogue boxes, I think it was from Thancred or from Mystinian, saying never give up, and then the music coming in, peak. Makes me tear up every time. Nothing will beat that. Elpis, this gorgeous blue, green and blue, amazing, beautiful zone, stunning music, relaxing, excellent story of Meteion. And, you're thinking like, oh, who's this lovely, Meteion girl? And then later on you find out that she's this whatever. But like, to me, Endwalker was peak, and holy moly, Emmett Selk was fantastic in it. And you're already thinking you're not going to see him again after Shadowbringers and defeating him as Hades. Like, come on. For me, Endwalker was peak, honestly. For me, some of that Endwalker story was some of my favorite. Dalamud and being out in the snow and having Alice and Alphino, like holding each other, cold and captured and stuff with these collars on. Like, Endwalker was so good. But this expansion tried to, not necessarily on purpose, alienate some of our favorite characters, such as like Thancred and such. But they tried to introduce us to a new culture and a new bunch of characters like Connor, Zoralja, Galuljaja, and of course, and most importantly, Wuklamat, into a few other characters in the other areas. Because of the cultural and topical and tropical world that we're on, this new world or whatever, I feel like these names and zones are, to me, less memorable, but in time, maybe it will be. I don't want to criticize the ending too much, because maybe the patches, and hear me out here, and maybe I'm just wishful thinking, maybe that when they're dead, they're dead. But maybe maybe each patch will be on a mission to bring back to life somehow, some of these people that we said goodbye to, like maybe Kakihua will come back, maybe we'll be able to bring back Otis. That would be kind of cool if they did it in a way where the storytelling makes sense. But I would love, personally, something I love in this game, one of the best themes I love, which is a good question we'd ask ourselves, is basically if you could have a second chance at life, which is this, forgive me for not remembering the name, but this like earring or whatever, or this headpiece where you can be brought back to life. I would personally have loved it if they trolled us in that fight, and we didn't know our character had equipped it or something, and we came back from the dead.
Yeah.
That would have been like, holy shit, I did not see that coming. I do think it was very cool how Wuklemat was like, there's a hole in the rift, and she came in. I'm actually really, really, really glad they gave Wuklemat the limelight at the very end there. She did deserve it. She was starting this expansion. She was a very weak and naive character. And I think it was Lama Todd and probably many other people have compared Wuklemat, and I have to stress here, I'm pretty sure Lama Todd had said that he was joking, but looking at it in hindsight, I do think that Wuklemat has a resemblance of Tidus or Tidus from FF10, where you first get him, he's a bit whiny, he's a bit naive, he's a bit immature, and I think that Wuklemat absolutely comes across that way and ends up becoming a strong character and grows heavily throughout the story, especially when she gets the attack on her town, the Turiolal, and she, she's there going around and grieving. So in retrospect, when I look back on it, I actually really like some of the storytelling paces. I just personally didn't feel much for the final zone. Beautiful zone, a bit like UV, a bit ashamed a bit of a shame that they turned off the lights, as I'm calling it, in all this final zone, and then slapped in the dungeon and trial at the end. I think that it could have been done a little better. It felt a bit rushed towards the end. But I think what's one of my most questionable things in Dawntrail is the pacing. That was one of my biggest issues with pacing. Like, I think it was slow between 90 and 95, then it ramped up a lot more, then slowed down 99. Slowed down to almost a standstill at 99, then it slapped in a dungeon trial. So that was my overall look. So I'm reflecting heavily on where we went, the zones we did, the trial we did months ago now, the first trial, and that was okay. They did give us the trial with Eorzea.
How many did we have though? 3 or
3 trials in the end, if you include the final trial.
Yeah.
I think 3 trials is okay. I just wish that the first and second were at least. They can't, but I just wish that there was maybe another one to fill in there to alter a change of pace, or threw in a couple more duties to feel like, I've got to do some fighting now.
Like I said, I think the thing with the Aaronville, I think if they started that story, they shouldn't have made him just, feel or seem incapable of dealing with his own issues. I think that if they wanted to make him snap, we should have really felt like, but I don't want to fight my friend, but now I have to because he's, I don't know, wanting to stop us and he's equipped this device or something, I would have made it a little more wild there.
Yeah, this device thing, I think, is absolutely something they could and absolutely should, in my personal opinion, explore more moving forward with this game, because I think that these for the patches could be really, really cool. I think it could be something really cool, something fun, and I think something that people still, it's a topic a lot of people talk about is what would you do if you had a second chance? Or if you could live more than once, or hell, if you could live forever. It's one of these things that we all talk about at some point in life. But I do think one thing that really hits home for me in Dawntrail, which I actually appreciate, and a lot in 14, is they teach you how to move on, right? To let go, and that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to struggle in whatever case, especially with loss, with family, relatives, friends, best friends, grandmas, whatever. And I think seeing our characters having the strength to carry on and to move on. And like even Erenville's story, like he struggled to let go of his mum even when his mum was there, even though she wasn't there. And it was this like really like existential like issue he had in his head where he was like, but my mum's alive, but she's not alive because she's dead, but she died because of it. So I think I really appreciate that for that, because I know that this game, whether this expansion or not, has helped loads. And I think that this topic is, in some way or form, going to help a lot of people.
I'm half joking here, but they could absolutely use this this whole device that you attach on your head as something that we carry on with us as an unlimited source of souls from now until the end of time, so that when we die in the open world, we don't have to spawn in Limsa Lominsa or Gridania or whatever, and it just raises you in that place where you died. I mean, I know it wouldn't fit into the story at all, but as a parting gift, imagine if you got that. It's like, here, you don't have to travel to Limsa anymore every time you die in a hunt or something like that. You can just resurrect yourself and be fine. I mean, in a way, I think that would be cool for an open world activity as a parting gift.
I'm really racking my brains to the expansion overall, you know, where we went, what we did. I remember I think it was the first dungeon. We were on the boat, and it was that long name. I can't tell you which one it is now.
I don't know.
And I remember in that dungeon, there was like ladders and stuff. Do you remember?
Yeah.
See, when I look back, I do love the dungeon designs and stuff. 1 second, I need to tell the dog off a minute.
No worries.
This dog, I swear to God.
I know.
As soon as I get talking.
But it's not picking up, so it's only annoying you.
Yeah, but it will when I talk. So yeah, I think I like the level designs of the dungeons. The bosses were all quite interesting, if I'm honest. Like, not me dying on the first boss like 4 times today. You know, I mean, bearing in mind I'm struggling with this control a little bit. It's definitely out of sorts a little bit, but you know, it was still enjoyable. I had a lot of fun, and me and UV, we've swapped around our setup left, right, and center. I've been on my own PC. I've been on this laptop here. You know, with whatever we've needed to do to continue the expansion and the story. But it's been good. I'm still not being affected, negatively with all that with the expansion. I think it's been a lot of fun. Oh, the ending theme's called Smile. That's a nice title for the theme of this game.
I also had a lot of fun. I wish the final song was, to me, a little bit more impactful. And I know that it can't be the same as some of the songs from Endwalker, but some of these songs, we essentially ended up farming duties to buy them, to add them into orchestrion roles, because they are just so good and just so unbelievable to stand in a zone where we have these lyrics like flow or whatever. It just feels like there isn't a song for me, unfortunately, in Dawntrail that I want to farm. And I think on the bright side, I do have something really positive to say. I think that they explored this incredible concept of basically using the same song, like you mentioned before, and altering how the song sounds. I think it's very interesting, but I am just still kind of mulling it over and thinking about whether they overdid it or not, from my perspective, because I would have liked to hear some songs that would just make me go, wow. You know, I can't remember a song right now from Dawntrail that made me go absolutely wow. Like, some of these songs were really, really good, and the last trial song was good, but it wasn't something that hits home to me, kind of like the song from one of the, the final trials of Heavensward, for example, or Flow, or the credit song from Endwalker or something like that. Like, I just wish the music was just a little bit more relatable.
Sorry to interrupt. This song currently playing was one of my iconic songs for this one. This was a really nice track. This was the one when we got to Solution 9. do 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 do. I really like this. It's obviously a bit repetitive if you listen to it over time, but this was one of my memorable videos where we were going around. There was an NPC named Neon, and they had like essentially like this like flying cars, and like it was a really nice theme that they explored for one zone, because like, you know, we've seen it all. We've seen like the woods, we've seen like you know, stone brick houses, we've seen all sorts. Like we've seen Charlie, nice clean, you know, steps into big statues and like very Greek looking style buildings from you know, from the Charlian. And we've been, you know, we've seen a Stormblood with like the different themes as well, you know. So it was nice that they explored something more like fantasy and very neon and very sci-fi. And even the music, and this music fits this zone entirely. So I'm actually like looking and going, to me, that was one of them. They explored the Final Fantasy IX references to no end in this game, and I'm very happy. I hope FF9 fans were also happy with the amount of 9 references. And I think they could have done more, but that's just me being a big fanboy of 9 and wanting to see more. Doesn't mean that they're not going to do more. You know, who's the penultimate boss of the end of Dawntrail? No one knows. But 7.1's out. I'm very, very excited to see how they're going to introduce the 24-man raid series, if there'll be a post-credit scene, or if there'll be, you know, some sort of opening as to a teaser, if you will, of to what's going to happen in the next part of the story.
Do you think they're continuing with the trend of 7.3 being the actual real big ending of the expansion before the preparation? Because in 5.3, for example, we had that big effect of the...
They always do that. They always end the main story in 0.3. They've done that since the very beginning. They will do that the same, and then basically from 5.4 to 5.5 is to build up to the next expansion. That's what they always do. And I think they normally give you 7.1. They give you the raid tier. 7.3 they give you the second one, and 7.5 they give you the final one to leave you off for the final expansion, for the expansion, along with sprinkling in some special events and trials and all this kind of stuff. So I think every patch, is there a trial every patch?
There should be, or should have been, for every patch in the past, and by past I mean Endwalker. They gave us a trial for every Endwalker, and it was very important because of the Endwalker story, as I think that they fit the bosses quite nicely in there as well.
Yeah, and they give you a dungeon in each patch as well, and they add little bits and bobs here and there. Everyone forgets about one good thing. I say everyone, like I speak to everyone. We're forgetting one other thing, V. They're giving us a new job soon. They're giving us Beastmaster.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people are forgetting about that, but this is coming mid-expansion, not early. So I think, from what I'm gathering, it's coming at like 7.3 or something. So yes, the story will end, but Beastmaster will also be something else to do, and it's going to be another limited job. So it's going to be its own content. So it's going to be some fun content for people to do up until the next expansion, which is probably going to last for quite a while, because we've got about 18 months till the next expansion.
Do you know what I think would be really cool? This is not even a prediction, because no one ever even mentioned this, and I don't think that this will ever happen, but I think that it would be so cool if they use Solution 9 as a new housing zone for apartments, because we already took a good look at one of the apartments during the quest line, and this is just completely unrelated to the story, but as from the game development perspective, if I was to want a new apartment zone, that would be that. Now, I know that they do housing and apartment kind of together, but I think that this, since it has so many buildings and it looks very modern and not a lot of these, let's call them farmhouses, although they could make a housing zone in the actual dome as I guess the story of that would be kind of inhabiting the dome with people who live outside the dome, and now they get to explore Solution 9. Yes, he's been a pain today. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's the culprit.
Did you want to skip the credits from here, or?
Yeah, we can if you're if we're done
it's
talking
just
about it.
black screen credits. Like,
yeah, we can.
well, I'm no longer recording. I ran out of space because we've been recording like.
No problem. We can, if you want, we can skip right now.
Whenever you're ready, because I don't know if there's a post scene or anything.
Okay, so I clicked escape and it says skip yes or no. They will give us the post-credit scene even if we skip the credits. All right,
Yes.
I'll do the countdown now. 3, 2, 1. All right, skipped.